Good morning, Jennifer Felion here. This morning we've been reading through Chapter 1 of Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. The next section is entitled, We Can Change Our Attitude Toward the Past. The past is over and done. We cannot change that now. Yet we can change our thoughts about the past. How foolish for us to punish ourselves in the present moment because someone hurt us in the long ago past. I often say to people who have deep resentment patterns, please begin to dissolve the resentment now, when it is relatively easy. Don't wait until you are under the threat of a surgeon's knife, or on your deathbed, when you may have to deal with panic too. When we are in a state of panic, it is very difficult to focus our minds on the healing work. We have to take time out to dissolve the fears first. If we choose to believe we are helpless victims and that it's all hopeless, then the universe will support us in that belief, and we will just go down the drain. It is vital that we release these foolish, outmoded, negative ideas and beliefs that do not support us and nourish us. Even our concept of God needs to be one that is for us, not against us. To release the past, we must be willing to forgive. We need to choose to release the past and forgive everyone, ourselves included. We may not know how to forgive. We may not want to forgive. But the very fact that we say we are willing to forgive begins the healing process. It is imperative for our own healing that we release the past and forgive everyone. I forgive you for not being the way I wanted you to be. I forgive you and I set you free. This affirmation sets us free. Again, she says, to release the past, we must be willing to forgive. That's a tough one. I know, and it will come to different points in our life where we're ready to forgive. Sometimes it's hard to forgive because we want to hold on to that anger and resentment because we feel justified, because we know that the other person was wrong. And to forgive doesn't excuse what the other person did. It doesn't make it right. But it releases us from being bound to the past. It releases us from being bound to an unhappy life. Why do we want to carry on that responsibility? Okay, if somebody wronged us, why do we then have to be burdened by it for the rest of our lives? And it's tough, and there's different scopes of it. I know growing up, I suffered abuse not only from my father, but from 7 other people growing up. Sexual abuse, mental abuse. I was abandoned by my mother. When I was 13, she chose to leave the home and live with an abusive boyfriend, which left me alone with my father, and she didn't know what was going on. My father was then put into prison when I was 14 because I finally had enough courage to tell somebody what was happening. I was sexually abused from age 4 to 14. I don't know what it's like to be a virgin. I never knew what it was like to have that kind of innocence. And then for my mom to leave at 13, that was very difficult because I felt that your mother should have protected you. And then when I was put into foster care, I felt very abandoned. The whole family fell apart. And I have relatives out in California and New Mexico. I have grandparents and cousins. And then I became angry. Well, why didn't one of them come and get me? What is it about me? Like, why am I so bad? I didn't do anything. I didn't ask to be abused. I didn't ask for my parents to, do what they did and choose drinking and drugs over taking care of their kid. And I was like, well, what's so wrong with me? Why doesn't anybody want me? And so I stayed in foster care from age 14 to 18. And I was lucky. I had a very loving foster home. They were a Christian, strict, military family. They taught me a lot of lessons that I didn't know before. Just basic things like make your bed, do the dishes, how to cook. It was very scheduled, very regimented. And I learned how to adapt to what people wanted from me. I was very good at that. The problem is, as an adult, I get lost in knowing what is truly me and what is me trying to please other people. Because I adapt so quickly that I do it even before I realize. I'm a go-getter. I'm an overachiever. I'm going to do what's necessary. So those are different questions. And then now to go through a separation with my husband. When I met my husband, he had always said that he had come from a good childhood, that his gift to me was to offer that suitability and that unconditional love, because he knew how hard it was for me growing up and then to go through foster care, because even in foster care they were very loving. It was kind of a conditional love. As long as you did everything right, you were accepted and approved of. But after you're 18 and you graduate and you move away, well, what's their responsibility anymore? They were just foster parents. That was their job. So to be out in the world by yourself, and even though I was smart intellectually, there was a lot of things that I just didn't learn. How to take care of myself, how to plan a budget, how to just do basic things, and there was nobody to ask. So I relied upon my husband as my rock and my foundation. I thought that he would always at least love me, and I believe that. And I think he does. But for whatever reasons in the marriage of why it didn't work, and now going through a separation, those questions again come up. Well, I was abandoned. He didn't want me. And he has family. And I really loved having that connection to family, because he has brothers and sisters and they have kids and he has a mom. So it really fulfilled a need for me to feel part of a unit. So now that we're separated and I'm back, I moved back to where I grew up in my hometown and finding myself all alone. Although my mom does live here and we do have a relationship, it just resurfaces all these old questions of, am I good enough? Am I lovable? Why doesn't anybody want me? Why am I abandoned? So to go back to this section in the chapter, not to go off on a tangent, but it just brought up all those things in my mind. How do we actually forgive? Going through all that, it's easy for me and to feel justified, like, oh, I had a bad childhood and all this and that, and therefore I'm just struggling, and, if only anybody was out here to help me. I have to realize that I have to change my own thoughts, my own beliefs, to go out and make a life for myself. And I can do that despite anything that's happened to me. I'm capable, I'm smart, I can work a job, I can do online marketing, I can surround myself with people who are positive, who are encouraging, and begin to forgive those people in the past. And say to my mother, I forgive you for not being the way I wanted you to believe. I forgive you for not being the way I wanted you to be. I forgive you and I set you free. So I forgive my mother. I forgive her for not being the mother that I had always wanted, but she's the mother that she is, and I am thankful for that. I'm thankful to have her in my life, and she does the best that she can do. For my father passed away in 2006. He was 60 years old. He had diabetes. And I want to say to my father, I forgive you for not being the way I wanted you to be. I forgive you and I set you free. I forgive you, Father, for the abuse, for being confused yourself, for growing up as a little boy he was abused, and I forgive you. You did the best that you could do. For my husband, whom I love and I will always love as part of my family, I forgive you for not being the way I wanted you to be. That's a tough one. Didn't realize it was going to be so tough. I forgive you and I set you free. And these are things that we have to do to heal ourselves, and it's not easy. But I encourage everybody, no matter how hard, to release the past. We must be willing to forgive. Stay tuned for more of Chapter 1. Thank you.